Okay, what is up, everybody? So today I'm going to be doing a comprehensive guide on Spidey, um, for anybody who wants to learn him or even get better at him. So first things first, before we do anything and start doing any fun stuff, I know we got to do our homework. Um, but first thing you want to do is go into your settings and go into keyboard, swap to Spider-Man as your character. Typically, it'll look like this when you first start out. It'll look like all heroes change hero. Just click on Spidey, and then from here, scroll down to hero. Now, these are the things that you want to do. Turn hold to swing on. You might be wondering why. We'll get a little bit more into that a little later. Automatic swing off, because having automatic swing on, what'll happen is it'll swing us from anywhere it wants to, hook us instead of being able to aim it ourselves, which is not good. The other one, which is preference, I like hold to wall crawl to get stuck on walls less, especially if I'm double jumping near a wall, because getting stuck on a wall is ass and not a fun time. The other ones that you want to do, in under hero, get over your targeting, pay attention to this one. And then if you scroll down to abilities, get over here ability 1. So for these, you want to have on separate binds. No abilities, get over here 1. I have on its typical E keybind. However, get over here targeting, I have on my mouse 5, and I'll show you why that's important real quick. So, if you have your pull on E, right, even if they're not tracer, if you use your E, it'll pull them to you, right? Just your typical pull, things like that. Now, here's the big difference. If they're tracered, and I use my mouse 5, which again, you go into settings, it's this under hero, get over here targeting. If I use mouse 5 on a tracered enemy, I now pull that to them instead of my E. With that being said, now if an enemy is tracered and I use my E now, it will still pull rather than being able to tracer and be forced to pull yourself to them. Now you can still pull them to you, which is also going to be important for a little later in the video, which I'll touch on. The last one that I'm going to talk about, which is a little niche, it's primarily for PC. I don't know if it's possible on console. But right here, your jump. I still have it bound on space, because that's important, but I also have it on mouse wheel. And you might be wondering why in the actual hell is it on mouse wheel, right? So I'll show you real quick. So this pillar, if I take my other hand off my mouse and spam space as fast as possible, I just want you to note where Spidey's head ends up in relation to the pillar. As you can see, even with me spamming the absolute lever living piss out of my keyboard and my spacebar, I'm always like right there at that lip, right? But if I use mouse wheel, suddenly we are much lower. We're much farther under the lip rather than right at it. And that's important for this reason right here. You're against like a tank, right? You can still double jump, and immediately after the double jump, use your down smash, no problem. Nothing. Don't gotta worry about it. But if you're against a squishy target that has a lower hitbox, and you're sitting here double jumping and shit, right? If you do it right after your double jump, you won't connect. Instead, you have to wait to come down and have it start coming down before you can use it, or else it'll miss, right? So that's why we use it on mouse wheel for smaller targets, because then suddenly we can chain them together and not really have to worry about anything, and not worry about it missing, because even though it's like just a couple inches, it still drops us low enough to be able to hit squishy targets and not have any problems. And the time difference to kill, like say if I do like my tracers and shit like typical, I have to wait to come down, takes quite a while, right? But if I have it on mouse wheel, suddenly you can change those together much quicker and still have a shit ton of kill potential on the ground, without your uppercut or anything. Now, now that we got keybinds and kind of the explanations as to why we have our keybinds and shit set like that, minus a couple other ones we're going to touch on a little later, the first thing we're going to go over is movement and survivability. So obviously with Spider-Man, he doesn't get any overshield like other dive DPS, Iron Fist gets his block, which gives him health and converts health to damage. Psylocke gets shield after a right click. You know, Panther, every time he consumes a spear, he gets overshield, and then Magic, of course. Anytime she does any damage, she gets a percentage of it converted to overshield. Spidey doesn't have any of that, so that's why movement is so important. So the first thing we're gonna do is web swings, and just to go over notation so you guys know exactly what I'm referring to when I'm talking. Left click is what I'm going to be calling my punch for obvious reasons. Right click is going to be web tracers. My F, which is my uppercut, I'm still going to say uppercut. My E, I'm going to have as my hook or my pull. Whereas if I use this variation of it and pull myself to an enemy, I will say my get over here, right? And then my shift, I'll just keep referring to as web swing. So the first thing with his swings, right? If you sit here and go aloft, you're kind of up in the air, kind of like a slow moving target. Like, yeah, you're in the air, which makes it a little harder to hit you, but you don't have any speed to make it to where you're actually hard to hit. You don't really have to move your mouse. Like, even say, like, these enemies are tracking me in the air, or I'm tracking them. You really don't have to move your mouse much at all, and you can basically full track you. So hell, it can just eat you alive, right? So the big thing is you want to cut your pulls off early, or your swings off early. Because suddenly, if you cut your swings off early, it's a lot harder for people to hit you as you keep your momentum and speed. Right? So that's number one of his movements. So the other shit you can do with this movement, if you're web swinging, say if you're web swinging over an open field like this, right? And you want some extra distance with the momentum you have without, you know, losing it, or more so you need a little bit of height. Say there's a lip coming up and you might hit it unless you do this. After you web swing and cut it off early, that's when you can use your uppercut to keep your momentum and get a little bit of a height boost. So again, keep momentum. Oh, I'm about to touch the ground. Height boost from the uppercut. About to touch the lip. Uppercut. We're on that. So that's why it's important to be cutting off your web swings so you're not getting lofted in the air, and also being able to use the uppercut to extend its range. The other one we're going to talk about is your B-hops. So having automatic swing off is what allows us to aim our swings, right? With that, it also allows us to web zip to the ground. Now, normally when we web zip to the ground, what'll end up happening is we'll get stuck in this somersault animation and we can't do anything in it, right? We might be able to uppercut, but that's about it. Past that, we're stuck, can't move, can't do anything, and we move in a really predictable way. Instead, right after you web zip to the ground, you want to shoot a web tracer, because then that gets rid of the animation lock, like so. Right? So with that animation lock being gone, we can then jump as we hit the ground with our momentum to keep it going, like so. And that's the B-hop. Pretty simple to do. Just hook to the ground, tracer, and then jump as you hit the ground. The timing takes a little bit to get used to, but once you get it down, then you'll be zooming around the map like no time. Obviously, this is extremely useful for times when you're in like a more contested area or an area inside, because not every map is going to be open like this one. Like, you know, there's some that are indoors or don't have a lot of like vertical space for use, which is when B-hop would come in much more handy. The other variation of the B-hop, it's kind of similar. So you start it off the same with making sure you web tracer before you hit the ground, right? But instead of jumping when you hit the ground, like so, instead of jumping when you hit the ground, instead, as soon as you web tracer, you jump like this. The reason you do this, right, is because, if you notice, there's like a half-second window where you keep your momentum from wherever you're zipping to, without needing to B-hop off the ground, right? So what you do after you jump in the air, after doing cancel, is you just add an uppercut onto it. This is primarily like useful for getting a like far distance off of a ground zip if you don't have anything high up to zip off of. And it does use an uppercut cooldown, so that's something to take a note of. But it looks like this. much farther, and you keep your momentum, so you still go fast as shit. Obviously, it's a little easier to do if you have a little bit more height, but you guys get the premise. Now that we went over movement, which is directly tied to survivability, we can go over the fundamental animation cancels. So this right here is why we have hold the swing on. So, starting off, if you just web zip in the air with hold the swing on, you can do something like this, to where if you jump and you're in the air and you just web zip, even if it's off a structure or in the air. Obviously, if you're closer to the ground, you have to web zip off a building, but for all intents and purposes, I'll just show you real quick. So if you jump, just tap shift on this wall to technically activate your web swing, because it'll act and think that you just swung off of something, even though you just tapped it. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to get access to your overhead, even if you're on the floor, which can be useful in certain scenarios, but most of the time you want to be doing the down smash with the mouse wheel tech instead, because this right here wastes a web zip, which again, as our mobility is tied to our survivability, might not exactly be the best scenario. Now here's the more important ones. So after your uppercut, if you take note, I'm going to spam and also count for you how long it takes me before I'm allowed to tracer as soon as I press F. So I'm going right now. 1, 2. So it's about a second and a half. 1, 2. Yeah. So as you can see, about a second and a half before I can web tracer. Now, after uppercutting, you can actually use your tap shift early to get out of the animation faster. So with this being said, if we try this and do our uppercut and then a web swing, and then follow it up with a tracer, we can do it much faster. So again, without it, 1, 2, 1, 2, about 1.5, 2 seconds. And then if we do it with the swing, right? 1, 1. That I messed up the timing a little bit, but 1. There's like a half-second window you got to wait. 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you can also see this as well when you're actually doing your uppercut, right? Because when you uppercut, you're spamming. You don't start, like, you don't have access to your web tracer until you hit the apex and or falling back down. But if you do this, you get access to it while you're still going upwards, before you're even falling back down. So that's one of the most fundamental animation cancels you should by far know, because it opens up a lot of combo routes. The other one is with our web pull, because as you can see, if I press F, if you look down at the bottom right corner where my abilities are, your web pull also gets locked out as well. So if I uppercut and spam E, 1, 2, around the same thing, right? You have to wait till the apex of the jump before you're able to use it. However, you can do the same thing with the web tracer, like so, as you can with this. So again, instead of needing to wait to get all the way to the top and then fall back down, you can tap shift, cancel it way earlier. And this will be important for later when we get into the fun pull techs and shit. Alright, so now that we went over, our keybinds, our movement, and our animation cancels, we're going to be talking about tracer applications. This is going to be a real quick segment of it. It's just basically making sure that you guys know when playing Spidey, between any ability you use, make sure you apply an extra tracer. Because if I walk up to somebody and I just apply one tracer and then, punch, uppercut, punch, punch, suddenly that's taken like 5 hits to do, right? But if I walk up, tracer, punch, tracer, uppercut, it literally drops off like an extra 3 hits just by using the tracer instead of extra punches. This is also important for shit like this, where you're down slamming people. You know, it takes 4 down slams, 1 with a tracer and 3 without, but if you use the tracer, boom, suddenly gets rid of 2 down slams, speed is way faster. So just make sure between every attack, whether or not it's a regular punch, uppercut, down slam, whatever you want to do, make sure to apply a tracer if you have them. If you're out of tracers, you know, you kind of shit out of luck, and you might just have to fight it out. But if you have tracers, make sure you're hitting them and reapplying them before any hit. As for down slams, typically, and I'll turn off cooldowns for this, say you get pulled into an enemy, right? Go in, and then you don't have your uppercut for a few seconds. That's when you can chain about 2 down slams together. Like so. So, like, say you're fighting a tank and something, which they won't really die in one combo, so you tracer, web zip. It's a little awkward doing this without showing you, like, the animation cancel that we're about to get into, or the combo cancel. So what you do is, you know, yeah, tracer, web zip, uppercut, down slam, jump, down slam, jump. So basically, whenever you can, loop in down slams together instead of punches, because as you can see, only your kick has extra range, right? Your punches don't have range. However, your down slams, your down slams do have extra range, and they are also very wide. So that's why you want to chain down slams together if you don't have cooldowns like your uppercut or anything like that, because it has extra range and it also does more damage than your punches. I believe it does 50 damage instead of 25 for your punches and 40 for your kick. So you're also going to be more threatening using those anyhow. Plus, you're not on the ground just swinging. You're actually up in the air, you know, being elusive and shit. Alright. So, my apologies, let me take a sip of water, my mouth is a little dry. Now that we went over keybinds, movement, animation cancels, making sure we reapply tracers, and or the talk about down slamming, we'll start to get into the combos. So remember earlier when we were talking about this right here, with the animation cancel after uppercutting, right, to get rid of that extra time before we tracer. This also, whenever we left click, because if we normally, you know, uppercut, we'll have this normal punch. However, when you do this tracer cancel, it will also allow you to do a down slam, which gets us into our first combo, which is our bread and butter. This kills 275 health targets, and it's very effective, especially if there's only like 2 people and you don't really have to worry about getting insta-killed by a whole group. And it goes as follows. You web tracer with your right click, get over here with whatever keybind you set it on, then you use your F to uppercut, then from there you do the cancel by tapping web swing and then tracer, and then left click to do your down slam. So it looks as follows. And we'll do it one more time. Oh, he has no HP. We'll do each one 3 times just to make sure we got it. There's 2. And here's number 3. And I will also put up like text and shit above, so you can kind of see the keybinds to hit in order to do the combo. So now we will get into the hook combo, which is pretty simple. You just, and this is another reason why we separate our binds between this right here and our pole, and it's for this exact scenario. So say you're walking up on an enemy or a support, but they're all like really close together with their tanks and DPS and all that, and they're all kind of a group, right? Obviously you don't want to try and go in, because you put yourself at a very fragile position, especially because this combo is a little long, right? 1, 2, 3. You're basically in the shit for 3 seconds. So instead, we tracer them, pull them to us. So again, tracer, pull to us. Then from there, we activate a punch, tracer again, and uppercut. So it'll look like this. So tracer, pull, punch, tracer, uppercut. And this also comes out a lot quicker than the other combo. So if we time it, 1, 2, 3. So obviously counting in the pull time, it's roughly the same. However, if we count in the pull time of the combo, as soon as we hit the tracer, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3. So it's a little faster, and it pulls them to a vulnerable position away from their team, so you can get a pick, right? So again, tracer, pull, punch, tracer, uppercut. So as follows. We'll do it 3 times, then I'll have text up above. So tracer, pull, punch, tracer, uppercut. Tracer, pull, punch, tracer, uppercut. Tracer, pull, punch, tracer, uppercut. And once you get the muscle memory, you'll get pretty fast with it, so you'll be able to go at like this speed. And obviously that helps the time to kill. Now the final combo isn't really a combo, it's more so something to have in your arsenal. It's what a lot of people like to call the drive-by. So obviously, you know, after web zipping to the ground, we can do an uppercut, right? So this is for more so characters or matchups where they might have CC or really annoying stuff to handle, such as like maybe Winter Soldier hook, Rocket with his dashes, Hella stun, anything like that. Or even Loki with runes, for instance. So all you do is start by web tracing them like normal, but instead of using your get over here like this, instead, what you do is you'll hit him with the tracer, web zip to the ground next to him, then uppercut. Now this is really great because, like, especially if this is Rocket, right? You'll have a dash. So as soon as you hit him, say you do this, and you try and finish him off, but you can't because he dashes away. Now you don't have another re-engage tool unless he's on the ground, because he can also run up a wall, right? So instead, by doing this, obviously we might have to take like a second. Like, let me get rid of cooldowns real quick. So if he does try and run away or anything like that, we can go ahead and just make sure we come back with an uppercut afterwards with our pull. So that that allows us to grab him no matter where he's at or where he might be. That's why you like to use drive-bys. It's primarily for ability baiting and or getting people scared. Because obviously, you know, if it's a Loki, he might be like, oh shit, drop runes. And Viz might, you know, get ready for a force push, but then miss because she thinks you're coming at her, but in reality, you're coming to her side. So it's primarily great for baiting out abilities and or setting up kills on certain supports that you normally wouldn't be able to get otherwise. The other couple combos that I will show are also really simple. So the first one, you web zip to the ground in front of your enemy, and knowing how we do our B-hop cancels like this, you don't B-hop cancel this one. Instead, you just web zip to the enemy and tracer them, right? Like so. Then from here, after you do that, you punch, tracer, uppercut. So this I don't really think this combo has a name. I'll just name it the smash and grab. If it does have a name, just let me know. But basically, if you do it full speed, like say if you're even coming up from behind somebody, web zip. It's basically the pull, however you use your web swing instead. And it's very fast, and we'll do it a few times like the other ones. So remember, web zip to the ground in front of your enemy, tracer them while going, and then after landing you punch, tracer, uppercut. So again, zip, tracer, punch, tracer, uppercut. And then web, tracer, punch, tracer, uppercut. And then one more for good measure. And remember, I will put text up above to show you exactly what inputs to do. As for the rest, it's primarily accuracy. The very final combo you can do, this one's a little bit more stealthy and less in your face. So if the enemy doesn't realize you're up in the air, right? You're coming down. As you're falling, if you tracer, down smack, and then follow up with an uppercut. Generally it'll kill. It's especially useful on supports or maybe other DPS that aren't paying attention, because it does kill like 275, I believe. As you can see, I do have a video on my Twitch of me performing this like 3 times against an enemy team of triple supports, and I think I killed 3. I killed Adam twice and C&D once. But this is really effective. Now, again, you web swing off of a wall as you're falling, be in line with the enemy. Web tracer, down slam, web tracer, uppercut. So again, web tracer, down slam, web tracer, uppercut. Web tracer, down slam, web tracer, uppercut. Then one final time. Web tracer, down slam, web tracer, uppercut. So those are all the very basic combos that you need to know how to do, or more so combos to get you started. Obviously, once you're a little bit more familiar with Spider-Man, you can kind of start mixing shit up and doing your own thing. But those are some of the ones that are like a little easier to do to get you off your feet. Now, a couple of the advanced combos you can do. The first one is the combo, which I'm sure everybody's heard of. It was made by Sekun. So it's like the pull combo where you start off with tracer, pull, punch, right? But after that punch, you want to jump, tracer, uppercut. So again, typical combo, pull, tracer, punch, jump, tracer, uppercut. So it'll look something like this. Tracer, pull, punch, tracer, jump, uppercut. Now, that's just the more basic version. Once you get a little bit more used to it, you can double jump it as well. So it'll look more something like this. And this is nice because it allows you to be much more mobile. It does require a little bit of a aim and shit with it. But with this, you can go anywhere you want. Like, you wanted to go over to the right, the left, or my favorite direction to go is directly above them, because like if you web them, right, so say if I'm behind them and web them, they're immediately going to be like, oh shit, and they're going to turn around, right, because you're behind them. So what I typically like to do is go above them, and the reason you do this is it makes you a lot more elusive, and remember, our survivability is tied to movement, right? So it makes it a lot harder for people to hit abilities like Luna Snowflake, Mantis Sleep. Like Mantis Sleep can't hit us unless it's a direct hit because we're off the ground. So this is why I typically like to move forward with it. Because at that point I'm above and behind them. And they're going to have a much more difficult time of hitting you if you're up and behind them after they turn around. Now again, just do it 3 times, and I'll make sure there's the text up on the screen. We'll do it 3 times, and I'll have the inputs up. So here's number 1. Number 2. And last, number 3. And that's how you do this combo. Now, the other combo we're going to be talking about is the yo-yo. Now there is technically 3 variations, however the third one I won't be covering because it's kind of buggy at times. It doesn't really exactly work as intended. But essentially, I'll do it once just to show you. But basically what you do is you web swing, and remember how you do the down slam after a web swing. Well, the way Spider-Man's down slams work is after a double jump or a web swing, he gets a down smash. So if you chain him up, you can get 2 together. However, if you uppercut, it deletes one of your charges. So if I web swing, double jump, and then do this, I only have 1 now instead because it gets rid of one of your things. So, the third variation of this combo, which is very niche and only works in specific scenarios anyway, and only kills 250s, you web swing in the air. You slam down, you pre-tracer. So what you do, just to slow it down, web swing up, you get rid of your down smash, and then you have them pre-tracered beforehand, because that's the only way this works. Then, while they're tracered and while you're still in the air, you want to jump and press E while holding down left mouse button after you get rid of your cancel. So as soon as you get ready to jump, like right before, you hold left mouse button. If you don't do this, it'll end up throwing out a down slam, which is what you do not want. So swing in, get rid of down slam, pre-tracer. This one does have the fastest time to kill out of all three. However, it is very hard, and again, you need to have them pre-tracered beforehand. But as you can see, it's nice. The only reason I don't use this one more is because, yeah, it does have fast time to kill, but it does add much more time for them to fall back to the ground, which in certain cases where you would use this, such as like if you want to web a Loki up to avoid his regen domain or cloak and dagger out of her ult, it might not exactly be the best. But you can see it is very effective. So I'll do it a couple more times and show the inputs, just so you guys can have it in case you do use it a little bit. So here's attempt number 1. Again, down smash, pre-tracer, hold left mouse, jump pull, tracer, uppercut. So again, web swing, get rid of down smash, pre-tracer, hold mouse button, jump pull, and then tracer uppercut. Because the reason why you hold mouse, 1, is so the down smash doesn't come out and you immediately hit them with a punch while they're still tracer. One more time, and again, remember, web swing, get rid of down smash, have them tracered beforehand, and then jump, pull, while still holding mouse 1, and then as soon as that punch connects and gets rid of that tracer, you want to retracer and uppercut. So the other variation, which is the one I like to use the most, just because it does kill up to 275 health targets, is this one right here. So this one, you don't have to do any of the extra steps, such as that last one. All you need to do is web swing, and simply, once you're in range, you use your hook, jump, then you tracer, uppercut, tracer, down smash. So like so. Get in range. And you can also use that one animation cancel, because again, you do use your uppercut first. So you can use the first cancel that I showed you with this one right here. So you get it a little faster. This cancel right here. So we'll do it 2 more times so you guys can see with the buttons up top. So go in, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, down smash. Web swing, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, down smash. So that's the other variant, and then the final variant, this one only works for 250 health targets. Instead, it's kind of like the first variant I showed, where you get rid of the down slam like this. You want to get rid of this one first in order to do it, because once we uppercut, it'll get rid of that other one. This one I don't like as much, because you don't have as much reach. So if they are pulled into an inopportune spot, you might miss. But I'll show you real quick. So again, web swing, get rid of your overhead, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, punch. Then I'll do 2 more times to show you guys. Web swing, get rid of hook, jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, punch. Web swing, get rid of overhead, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, punch. My bad, I messed that one up, so I'll do it one more time. Swing, get rid of overhead. I did not have enough distance on that. Oops. This one's also hard, because this one is one of the times you do want to be locked in. So again, web swing, get rid of overhead, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, and then punch. Overhead, hook jump, tracer, uppercut, tracer, punch. And that's the variations of the yo-yos. Now as for the pull decks, which is going to be our next section, it's very simple. So you have your typical pull. This is for maps like alright, sorry about that, we're back. So There's a few types of different pulls. So number one is if you're already near a ledge. For all intents and purposes, let's say this is a ledge. You simply walk off, pull, jump, swing out. Right? Very, very simple to do. You know, walk off, pull, jump, swing out. That's the most simplistic form. Obviously, you're not really mobile. And if you're sitting somewhere pretty consistently, like on the Winter Soldier map or some of the other maps, you'll be kind of easy to spot and or catch out. So again, if you're just near an edge, pull, walk off, jump, swing out. Most basic form of pull you can do. Pretty simple, pretty easy. The other one you can do is out of a web swing, because you, again, we want to cut our web swings off early. So web swing, cut off early, pull. Web swing, cut off early, pull. Web swing, cut off early, pull. And the most important thing is this only has a 20-meter range. So whenever you're within that 20 meters, especially when you're doing these ones, you want to make sure you time it in a good fashion. Because if not, then you'll be too far out of range and they won't hit. So again, pull. Web swing, pull. Obviously this is not the best spot to show, but web swing, pull. So that's the other really basic form of hooks that you can do to get off maps. Obviously that one's a little bit more tricky because it requires a good angle for your swing to begin with and requires them to be in your flight path, whereas the other ones don't require as much because you can kind of manipulate it better. The other version you can do as well, you can also string in that other momentum tech that we talked about earlier, where you can uppercut while web swinging, so like here. And you might be wondering how the hell I got that off so fast, and we will talk about that right now. So again, like I said with the tracer, after an uppercut, you can do the same thing with your web hook, which we talked about earlier. And this is where that comes in handy, because in order to do these next few, you're going to need to be able to do this while going fast and being in range of your enemies. And then I'll show you that one more time. So you web swing, uppercut, shift E, or web swing, pull. Now the final two that you can do, remember how we went over B-hopping earlier, where you just shift to the ground, web tracer, and the B-hop. Basically all you do is use a B-hop, and while you're B-hopping you pull them. So like say they're a little bit further from the edge over here and you don't have space to, you know, be over there and pull them. That's when you do this. B-hop jump, pull them off. This doesn't work if the ledge has a lip, because then they'll get stuck, because it's going to want to pull down to you. So just be wary of that. Make sure it's a clear edge, or one that you can hop over. So again, jump, pull. And then one final time. Web zip to the ground, B-hop, pull. Alright, and now the final pull tech that you can do is the uppercut one, which you see a lot of Spideys do. Now typically for this one you want to be high ground, because if not, like even if you double jump right, you won't have enough height, because you double jump, zip to the ground, and unless you zip really far out, what'll end up happening is when you try an uppercut, you'll hit the ground and it will stop your momentum. So this one's best done with height. Like even if you're a little bit better, you can do it like maybe like a little bump like this. And again, with this one, since we're uppercutting, you want to tap shift and then your web pull, or else it won't be able to land because we're animation locked out of it. As you can see, if we press F and look down at the bottom right again, our web pull is redded out while we're in the uppercut. But if we uppercut and use our web swing, it gets rid of the lip early. So again, I'll show it a couple more times. Web zip to the ground, uppercut, pull. Web zip to the ground, uppercut, pull. Web zip to the ground, uppercut, pull. And this is especially useful because obviously, like, these are Galactabots, they don't have big hitboxes, so they're a little harder to hit. But if you have a tank like Groot or something, or like this, it's a lot easier to hit. And if you can pull a tank off the map, you get a lot of value because your ult only has about, I want to say 2400 ult charge. So by doing this, you generate a lot of ult charge with it as well if you pull a tank off, because obviously any of their damage they take is contributed to your damage bar for your ult. Post that, that's pretty much most of the stuff you need on Spidey. We covered keybinds and settings and shit like that to give us access to all of our animation cancels with having hold to swing on and automatic swing off, hold to crawl on so you don't get stuck as much, and then obviously separating our get over here and our hook. And then finally the mouse wheel so you can constantly chain slam and not have to worry about waiting that extra half second to fall down. We covered that. We covered all the different movement techs you can do to help your survivability, the animation cancels you can do with your tracers and or your web pull when you're uppercutting, your tracer reapplications to make sure you're applying them between any of your hits, repetitive down slams and why they're important, especially if you don't have cooldowns and still want to do damage, the basic combos such as the bread and butter hook and hook combo and drive-bys, along with the other couple I showed, the advanced ones with like the set combo and yo-yo, and all of the pole techs I can think of. Past that, if you need any more clarification or need any more questions, feel free to comment them and I will answer them as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace.